Holy crap, we are live.
Hey, hi. I'm wondering how many people we get on tonight. Probably not very well. I know I'm pretty sure that Doc won't be here tonight because he's at Dundrick. This is President's Weekend, right?
Is it? No, last weekend was. No,
No?
maybe you're right. I don't know.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were.
Dundrickon is on President's Weekend, so I'm pretty sure he won't be here.
Oh, okay. I think maybe you are right. I don't pay attention to holidays much now that I'm retired. It doesn't really affect.
I wish I could do that. Hey Mike, jump on. We won't have very many people today. That's all right. I got pertinent question to ask him.
You got pertinent questions?
I
Yes,
got I
Mike.
got I got convention questions to ask him.
Convention questions.
Woohoo!
Question: What's your function? Folks, if we
So
haven't announced it yet, this is Dungeons, Dragons, and Discourse
it
with
certainly is.
Tenkar and Glenn. Bad Mike says he'll pop on after he eats.
Oh, right. And I'm waiting for mine. Yeah, old man Grognard. See? Wrinkles.
Wrinkles.
I
You
was looking at
can
the other day and it's like, where the hell did all how did I get 3 times as many wrinkles as I had? Yeah,
eat.
I used to have just a little crow's feet, and now it's like all wrinkly up here. And oh well, gamers age too.
Well, you know what they say is there's only one thing worse than aging.
Not aging.
Yeah, essentially.
The alternative. When I think about the alternative, I like it, as Marshall
Um,
Way said.
he might not even. I didn't assign any reading to Glenn. Glenn didn't have any essential readings.
Evil Genius Games fiasco. The only fiasco I know about, unless this is the same thing, is the. Oh no, we already discussed the paper and Zach and all that.
No, no, no. This is a totally different pile of burning poo,
Oh boy.
which Mike has made it his unofficial research project to get to the bottom of. God bless him.
Really?
Yes,
Um,
we'll have to say that for.
remind me. I may have heard of it. Recap.
Um, so Evil Genius Games is the company that got the license to do the Kickstarter that included King Kong and Rambo and Escape from New York using a modified 5e engine, I guess. And what they did is they went Kickstarter stupid. They got all these
Hmm.
licenses. They raised all this money. They had a license for Rebel Moon, the not Star Wars movie on Netflix, but
Hmm.
then they apparently let information leak about the movie and they lost their license and it was a pile of shit. But in any case, they hired a staff of 30 people for the company
Whoa.
and then suddenly couldn't pay anybody and people started resigning left and right.
Okay. Are
And
you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure Gareth didn't have anything to do with
yeah,
this?
it almost sounds like it.
Yeah.
But
God,
yes, say it.
when do people start learning about how to do a Kickstarter? That's what I'm wondering. It's
Well,
like
I
that's the
mean,
last thing I would do is go out and hire a staff.
it's not the first time. This has been going on for well over a decade.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, but I mean, people don't see this and go, "Don't do this."
Jonathan Frost, who was at the time a very big Pathfinder freelancer, apparently pretty successful doing that, kickstarted a new game called Quantum. I know because I backed it. I early on in the Kickstarter days, something looked interesting. You didn't have to try too hard. I backed it,
Right.
but then quickly after that funded, he was already funding a supplement for it, but the game hadn't come out yet, and I
Oh
found it
Lord.
kind of suspicious. Uh, why are we funding? Why are we raising money for a supplement for a game that hasn't even released yet? only had Kickstarter only wrapped up a few months earlier. Well, the reality came out is that Frost hired an office staff, rented an office and equipment, and put all the Kickstarter money into playing publisher, and had nothing to publish.
It's
Um,
you know it's only a matter. If people keep doing that, it's only a matter of time when the government's going to come in and say, "Hey, you guys are a pyramid scheme."
that's
You
pretty
know,
much. Well, I mean, that
here's a Kickstarter to pay for the other Kickstarter that can get enough money.
right. We've had a few of them
That's
that are like that. Um, what?
MLM right there.
Yeah. Well, we had what you call it? Mike Nicestool, the Wandering Wizard. His
Yeah,
Kickstarters
poor
were,
him, poor
yeah.
Mike. He had to learn the hard way.
He had a fallen sword.
Yeah.
Um, was it Ken Whitman did the same?
Yep.
Uh, oh God, what was the name of the company that had the license from Frog God to do miniatures?
Oh yeah, Michael. No. Yeah, I even got a miniature or two from them at the con when they were still solvent.
You know,
Not I didn't mean a pyramid scheme. They'll say it's a Ponzi scheme.
it's all generally the same, but they spend money they don't have. Same
Right.
thing. There's another Kickstarter, City State of the Invincible Overlord. Right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I remember that. Around the time Deluxe Tunnels and Trolls, remember
yeah.
Janelle was saying, back this and we
Mhm.
will, you know.
Because and that one was just pure mismanagement. That's the reason why that one when I
Mhm.
want to say tits up. We'll say it tits up. Um, and it was doing miniatures, didn't have the money to do it. The funding math was all fugazi, and the shenanigans going on initially with Bob the Third, the youngest.
And there was shenanigans.
There were shenanigans with that one. So I mean, but,
Oh,
but
but
I shouldn't
yeah,
say too much because somebody gets bent out and makes email threats if you say anything
yeah.
negative about
Oh,
their
by the
company.
way, while I'm thinking about it, hi George DeRosa, got your message. I await your reply tomorrow. Good luck with this.
Arduin, bloody Arduin!
See, I'm wearing your shirt.
I
I
wore it
use it.
last night as my sleep shirt.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Greg, Greg Christopher in the house. I am ready for some discourse. Yeah, ready to cause more shite. I understand. It's okay.
Hello, Doc. We didn't expect you here. We know you're at the con,
But about
but
that
thank
con,
you.
the con.
You know,
Um,
we can't get him out to Dallas. I think you and I and maybe Bad Mike and a contingent ought to go out there to DungeonCon some year and surprise him because it's
oh,
a nice con. It's a nice convention. It's a really
that's
nice convention.
that's in that like California.
Yeah, it's Santa Clara. Yeah, Santa Clara. It's a wonderful con. I was there several times in my youth. In my youth.
In my youth, in my
Yeah.
youth, my youthin.
I I used to see all the hero games guys there. It was great. And Doc.
Okay.
And
Um,
Doc. I played
and
in his
Doc.
tune. I played in his tune game several times.
Tom, I do not believe that quantum is the same as quantum black game. I do not believe it's the same. Unless they're publishing a game called Quantum. But yeah, that was one hell of a fiasco. But sadly, it's not the only times. Mike Neistel did the same thing, and then tried when he couldn't get enough money on Kickstarter, tried Indiegogo, and then tried raising money directly. A little power corrupts, while a little money corrupts, and
How
it
long
kind
has
of
Kickstarter been around now?
I want to say since 2010, but I'm going to
Okay,
do it. I'm going to do a quick check. I mean, some of the early
so
Kickstarters.
a lot of these people have been doing it's not their first rodeo. I know that. Um, I remember back in the day.
2009, April 9th, 2000. It's going to have its 15th anniversary this April.
I remember in the day. Here I go in the day again. That the only thing that would really ruin your Kickstarter is if you offered miniatures with it. You do not, unless you're kickstarting a miniature set, you do not offer
Right.
miniatures with it.
And for a lot of these projects, what did them in was the add-ons. What did them in was the stretch goals.
Yeah, that's part of it too.
Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Oh, it's like this nose of mine's gonna run away, and it should, but it didn't. It's not. I don't know. Oh, but I mean, here's the thing: when you do stretch goals, you have to have the funding to cover the stretch goals. And a lot of these guys,
That's right.
if you're doing physical stretch goals, if you're doing what I like to call tchotchkes, if you're doing the little knickknacks that get thrown in, they all have a physical cost. And they can change your shipping.
That's right.
Before you were shipping a book, now you're shipping a book with a pencil, and all that doesn't, you can't, it's not the same rate. So this changes a lot of the dynamics. If your stretch goals are PDF digital, then the only cost is the actual creation, not the printing,
That's
not
right.
the shipping. It's more controllable. But
Well, I used to throw. I don't know if they're still doing this, but for a while I saw more and more people doing. Okay, if we get this stretch goal or whatever the level is, they would give you a voucher for the product at a discounted rate at, say, like drive-through RPG. And thinking about it, I was at first when I saw that, I'm going, oh, come on, I spend money to do this and you give me a discount on it. But then I thought about it and say, well, that's probably the only way some of these people can do the Kickstarter, because that kind of buffers the cost right there.
right. All right. So Tom is making me go into into the weeds about Quantum Black. I do not believe it's the same company. If I can see who, no, it isn't. No, it's the author's not the same. It appears to be a different company, and also they're using the Ubiquity engine, which Quantum was using its own weird ass shit. So, yeah.
What I asked George on, not to derail that, but what I asked George in email was, I have a PDF of the Arduin trilogy. Do you have PDFs of the rest of the stuff? Because I said this is the next thing to be reviewed, and if it would be nice if I had a PDF of it too.
Yeah, I don't think there are PDFs of them, but that I don't know. Some companies aren't huge on PDFs. For the longest time, Palladium would not do PDFs, believing that would lead to piracy.
Hell, WotC wouldn't do PDFs for a long time.
WotC did PDFs and then pulled their PDFs. That was a fiasco.
Oh boy, what was it?
Yeah. Oh, Greg, this is why I have worked hard to do everything in-house. I do my own layout with stock art bought from money used in a prior project. When I launch a product, it's done. No risk of failure. Well, there you go. And you don't need a staff of 30. You sure? Would you like a staff of 30? We could get you a staff of 30. Because remember, the best way to make $1 million in gaming is to start with $2 million and take a 50% cut. Or if you're WotC, start with $4 billion and take a $3.5 billion cut.
Hello, Michigan.
And Mr. Success.
How you doing? How you doing?
I don't know if it's a monsieur.
He's a guy from New York, and I said, "How you doing?"
Hey, how you doing? Hey,
Hey, By the way, we might for North Texas, we might need a couple of roommates. It's just going to be Jason and me.
Dun dun
I
dun.
have not heard back from Mark Hunt yet,
Okay.
but I suspect that he probably can't. But you know why? My friend Carlos decides he wants to bring his wife and kid this year,
Okay.
so he's going to get a separate room. And then Gage says, "Well, I'm going to get a separate room for me and my girlfriend, who also plays." And it's like, okay, you have like $500. Well, I'm going to find a cheaper place. Okay.
Yeah, you can go to the place next door. It's a little bit cheaper.
Is it a little cheap? I see. He said, "How
Uh-huh.
much a night? 110." That's too expensive. I said, "That's a good deal for the West.
Yeah.
That's a good deal for a hotel like that." But if you can't afford it, he wants to find like a Motel 6 or something, I think.
But then well, he'll be driving, so he can. If you don't drive,
Well, she'll be driving. We're going to use her car this year, I think.
oh, okay.
And if we don't, we're going to use our car and leave his car here. Because I said, "Are we going to take the GMC or our Buick?" He says, "Well, you better have some extra money left over in case we break down. We're taking our car."
There you go.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
said,
I
"I don't want to
remember.
hear anything about breakdowns or anything."
Right, I remember taking trips in a car that was prone to overheat or have radiator problems. Like, I don't want to
Mhm.
roll the dice, man. I just really don't want to roll the dice.
Yeah. So I don't know who's going to be staying with us. Jason says he's working on trying to get some of his people come out with him. Um, because his group, of which
Right.
I'm not a part of anymore, for a while anyway. I had to finally flat out tell him. I said, "Look, Delta Green doesn't really interest me because there another guy's running it right now with doing Delta Green. It's like
Right.
I like Call of Cthulhu well enough, but the Delta Green stuff, it never did anything for me."
Well, Delta Green is like Special Forces Call of Cthulhu stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I found that
Ex-
that stuff was what was it? The Unspeakable Oath when they would have
Oh, I used to have issues with those.
yeah when that's where I think Delta Green got its start, and that was
Mhm.
cool. But when it like kind of branched out as its own system, it was it's nice as a diversion, but this is like X Files on crack, and I don't think that it works quite so well.
Well,
Mr. Young, we will discuss
like
the Evil Genius Games fiasco when Bad Mike finishes eating his dinner and joins
right.
us.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, Delta Greens. I mean, Delta Green. I'm not put, but Special Forces stuff don't do anything for me. Um, I mean, I appreciate Delta Green. I admire Delta Green to actually have a Lovecraftian RPG that actually has some consistency to it. Like semi-regular characters that don't go insane. So there. Oh wow! I think we ought to go next year if this keeps up.
Uh-oh.
Eric, look at hotels at 100% of the original DCC allotted capacity. They can walk in and still get a room at con rates. Wow.
Damn. That's
Tell, tell you what, put Gary Con on hold next year and we'll all go here.
I've already put Gary Con on hold. Nothing against Gary Con. I just it's too crowded for the venue and
All right, game hole.
I actually tell you the truth, I think my cons next year. Well, this year it's going to be Total Con,
Mhm.
North Texas, probably WizardCon in July. That's Wizard Tower Games new convention out in
Mhm.
Michigan, and then ShireCon in the fall. I think that's it. And then next year I'll be adding Pace, Philadelphia area, Pace, Pennsylvania area Game Expo. that kicked off this year. I wasn't able to go this year. It's in January. This year, Rachel's radiation treatments just wasn't going to work.
I've been getting Facebook posts about, hey, come to this con. Hey, come to that con. I said, well, move the con closer to Oklahoma, and I will.
Yeah, it was like Page I can drive to, Philly I can drive to, and Ron was nice enough to make me a special guest. I'm special.
Aww,
I feel so. I just want a hug. No, I really, it really.
You now have been made in the con.
I've been special guest at ShireCon, so I mean technically.
You're a made. You're now a made man gamer. Made man
gamer. There we go.
You're not a soldier anymore. Let's see. Hi, Glenn. Hey, Tammy. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, eh?
How you doing, huh? Hubs. Oh, she's married. Wait a minute. I'm married. Never mind. Sometimes I forget. But that's me. I'm old. Okay.
Mike says bring in his fat ass. All right, hold on a second. We gotta bring in.
I know, Mr. Gone. It was far away from me too. That's why I like the DundraCon and such.
Oh, Jesus! I didn't mean to.
Yeah, I figure the day I get special guest status, I will consider myself a made man.
You're a made man. Now you know what that.
And you can. Yeah, and you got to get permission from the con people to kill my character off, because you cannot kill a character of a made man off. Isn't that the way it works?
Something
that the way it works?
Like that. Yeah, you get that privilege.
Yeah. I mean, I watch Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And Billy Bats. Hey, let's play Billy Bats in this game.
I want to play Billy.
I should bring my effing shine box in it this year. I'd love to be there, Wizard. But...
Sorry, I had a couple of bites left. By zucchini patty.
Okay. All right, zucchini on Glenn on Wednesday night. This MFer was having fresh, crispy bacon. Didn't share, didn't off. Yes, I know.
My wife, Glenn, my wife walks up, and I'm like, I can smell bacon. I'm sitting there talking to him and Ron, going, I smell bacon. My wife walks in with this big old tray full of crispy, delicious, low-sodium bacon, and I ate it in front of those two SOBs. Yeah. Wow. And the best part is she came back later with more bacon, and I ate that in front of them too. And I feel kind of bad. I feel bad about it. I do feel kind of bad.
Hey, Dave. I just told our compadre here the minute I make special guest, I'm going to consider myself a made man. So you can't kill my character off.
You and Eric.
Made man, you can't kill.
You and Eric are on the list for special guest in North Texas. Eric, because of his contributions to the industry. You, though, I think what I'm going to do is I wanted to do this a couple years ago, but I never got around to it. I'm going to do a podcaster spot. Like Jason Hobbs has it this year, but I think next year that's going to be your spot. It's going to every year. Cool. I want to highlight an old school or OSR type podcaster.
I've been
not a streamer, but a podcaster. I don't care about streamers.
Yeah, okay. I just in my mind it's like Radio Grognard. How long have I been doing that? Well, it's like 10 years of verbal gaming diarrhea.
You also did Thaco's Hammer.
Thaco's Hammer, which is still out there, and we are still trying to get together to do a show, an episode.
And then I think you did some
Save or Die.
Save or Dies, yeah.
Yeah, Save or Dies. That's where I went. That's where I made my bones in podcasting.
No, and then you, me, and James
hosted.
We did. I don't know, 2-3 episodes, and then went.
By
the way, official announcement.
I like that show. That was by the way, that was one of my favorite shows. So two of the shows that I really loved that went away too early were you, James Spahn and Eric doing that show. That was awesome.
That was fun. It's
Jim
got one of my
Jim Wampler had a show years ago where he was just him. He'd have one person on the show, and he would talk to him for about an hour. And I'll tell you what, Jim is a very good interviewer, and he's one of those guys that knows exactly how to ask questions and then get out of the way. You know, I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to move back. And he only did a few shows, but I was very impressed with his ability to carry the show. And so
he is good. He is good.
Yeah, and he just didn't have enough time to keep doing it, but he did like 2 or 3, and I thought he did a great job. He did a great job doing that. So those are the 2 shows I kind of miss.
Yeah. That one show we did, the one show Eric and James and I did there, it's got one of the favorite episodes I ever did was the one on Freebooters, the pirate RPG.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That was probably one of my favorite episodes.
I don't remember that though.
That's a great game, and we just like fall all over ourselves praising it.
So Glenn, what questions do you have about North Texas? I know you want to ask North Texas.
First of all, I probably ask you this already. Are posting games up? Can we post games?
I think you can send them in. I don't know if Gary has them posted yet. Somebody said they tried to sign up for games today, and they said there was nothing there. So I don't know if you're able to do it yet.
Okay. I pointed Jason in that direction. He said, "No, there's nothing there." I said, "All right, I'll ask Bed Mike when I talk to him."
Nothing there yet, but hopefully we can have something there by Monday. I know Gary was supposed to do it this week, but I will contact him and see if he can take time from his 3 jobs to open that up. I think one of the things that takes a long time is he doesn't, and this goes all the way back to Doug, he doesn't allow just anybody to post. You have to send it to him, and then he makes sure everything's in order, then post it, because we want to make sure that we don't have any issues and nothing weird pops up, and somebody doesn't try to run Hitler the RPG or something like weird like that, and we want to make sure everything's.
What's that board game that has to do with Hitler? I forget who it is. It's like Secret Hitler or something like that. But the other question I want to know,
Reichstar. Somebody might want a Reichstar game, with using the Reichstar RPG rules. Yes, there was a game. Although they are the bad guys, the Nazis, the space Nazis are the bad guys in Reichstar, but
they're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
The other thing I wanted to ask is how's the badges selling?
They're selling great.
Are we full in yet? Are we full up yet?
We're over 300, and we're definitely going to sell out this year. No question about it. If anybody is on the fence and you're not sure, you better buy your badge, because once we sell out, all that will be left are walk-ups. And walk-ups will not be available before the con. You'll have to walk up and buy your badge at the con. And we will only sell walk-ups as long as there's games available to be in. So if you show up and every game's full and every table's full, we'll probably say, "I'm sorry, we don't really want to sell you a ticket," because we'd be ripping you off, because we'd be selling you a ticket for something that you can't participate in. So
I'm asking you to hold a badge, basically.
Oh, we can.
Not for me, not for Gage. Gage's girlfriend.
He's gonna. Well, that's right. I heard you earlier. So Gage is gonna bring his girlfriend.
Yeah, I get their own room. I guess they're gonna knock boots or something. I don't know. He wants to find a Motel 6. He wants to find a Motel 6 or something because he can't afford the Westin.
Does this sound sleazy to you, Eric, or not? Come on, man.
Not at all, Grandpa.
Motel 6.
Grandpa Glenn, sorry.
Or Super 8 or something.
Now the hotel next door that you can walk across the parking lot, not the street, but the parking lot, that's actually a pretty cheap alternative. But I have heard, though, you get what you pay for. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. You get what you pay for. It's a nice, affordable room, but the walls are thin. It's not the best quality, whatever. So just let people know that is a good cheap alternative. Across the street, the Red Roof Inn is a good cheap alternative.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to put. I said, you guys want to do this and not room with us? You better move now.
Oh yeah, they need to get a room
for badge for room.
But they really need to get a badge. At least Gage needs to get a badge because there's no way that
He already has one. He already has one.
Oh, he does. Okay, he's just okay. He wanted to make sure his girlfriend has one.
Yeah, I bought it last year. I bought ours last year's, but she decided I suggested she games. Why don't she comes? Oh, okay. We're gonna go get a room.
Oh, so you knocked yourself out of a roommate. Congratulations, Glenn. That was
awesome. What?
Self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted wound there. That was your roommate. You kicked your roommate out to go be with
you guys are sounding really funny.
Well, listen, if I had a choice between rooming with Glenn or my girlfriend, I would choose my girlfriend at that age. Sorry. Just more cuddle time.
If I even
you guys sound all broken up and electronic.
Oh, I thought you were busting my hump. All right.
Yeah. Oh, you just can't hear us. Oh, I can hear everybody. It's on your end, Glenn, because I can hear Eric.
I catch every third syllable.
I can hear you fine too, Eric, Glenn.
Okay.
It must be.
Yes, and Glenn, you sound fine to us.
Yep.
Do you need to reboot, Glenn?
That came in loud. That came through loud and clear.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, okay. All right.
It did work.
It worked itself out, which I love.
I cleared up the gremlins. The gremlins from Bugs Bunny came here.
By the way, Mike, I took your advice. I will be rerunning a Gangbusters game this year.
Yes, and I'm sure we'll fill up and do very well because people want to see.
And I'm gonna do Ring of Fire again. That was one of my favorites. The boxing one.
Oh, I think you do Rings of Power, and I was like, please don't.
No, it's called Ring of Fire.
Yeah, let's show Rings of Power, and we'll do an a Mystery Science Theater 3 version of Rings of Power.
Oh, that I'd show up to. Okay, that's cool.
I'll have to think about this. We could have Tom Tullis, Zach Glazer, who else loves Lord of the Rings and hated Rings of Power, and have them do MSK3 version of Rings of Power, the first episode. Oh, that would be. I would watch that. That would be some good stuff, man.
Directed by the guy who did The Room. Or Birdemic, either one.
Did you guys? So I took the hit and I saw Rings of Power. Did either of you see Rings of Power?
I couldn't make it through like 15 minutes.
Wow.
I just couldn't, man. I just like.
I understand that. I understand that. Glenn, did you see Rings of Power?
No.
Okay.
Wasn't even interested.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And so I
clutch my Blu-rays of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and ignore it.
Well, it was really terrible. It was pretty terrible. The reason being because I knew how much money they spent on it, and I couldn't believe the look was fine. It looked okay. The writing was god awful. And they tried to shove in like 100 years of history into 1 week or whatever they did, 2 weeks. It didn't make any, and the whole point is if you're going to buy a property like Lord of the Rings, do it. Some of the people who are going to want to watch your program are going to be Lord of the Rings fans, right? Mm-hmm. And not everyone, like, my wife liked the first 3 movies, but we watched Rings of Power, and she didn't know anything about the history, nothing, and she's just watching this as like a fantasy show, and she didn't even really like it. So they didn't do the most basic thing is to make this interesting for people who maybe don't know Lord of the Rings, and then they alienated everybody that did like Lord of the Rings. So they just failed on every front, So I have heard, I read something, Eric, that apparently they have new writers for season 2 because it failed so miserably, and Bezos spent so much money on it that apparently he's hired new writers for season 2, so we'll see if they do any better job on it or not. But
see how they can retcon it. Yeah. Oh boy.
It was terrible.
I'm also contemplating doing a second game.
Oh, definitely.
I'm doing a little writing on it. I haven't decided whether I want to do it. I want to do. I finally getting around to do the Midnight Pearl of Black Drake Isle. Which will be Savage Worlds DuckTales.
Okay. So it's kind of a toonish offering here?
More or less. And they're going to go to Black Drake Isle, which is very cleverly by me disguised from the Isle of Dread.
Oh, so you're throwing a little D&D in the mix there too.
Yeah, I looked at it, I go, I could use that map in this game. And so I don't know if it's going to come out or not. I may just take it with me and just do an ad hoc game and just put the sign up and that kind of thing.
Very cool.
But I've been trying to do that for like 2-3 years, and it's like I couldn't get anywhere with it. But now it's starting to flow.
Gary's making me run something this year, and I think I'm going to throw a curveball. I was going to run my usual B1 Search the Unknown. I think instead I'm going to playtest my B1.5 Underneath the Unknown, which takes place in the lowest level underneath, just to because to playtest. I need to playtest the thing. I really do. So I haven't finished writing it yet, but hopefully it'll be done by June, and I may run that instead.
I'd play in that.
I wrote it very much the style of B1 in that you there's a lot of empty rooms. You get to place the monsters, you get to place the treasures just like you do in B1, and that there's sort of a theme, but a lot of it's just kind of running around underneath and finding things. It's not a very big dungeon. There's probably only 20 rooms in the lower level. Most of them are very large, caves and stuff. So, but anyway, we'll see. That may be what I run instead of the regular B1. We shall see. We shall see.
We shall see.
Very interesting.
So I saw your guys' discussion of Evil Genius games and bad Kickstarters, as we love to.
You're up, Mike.
We do love to talk about it. No, I thought it was interesting. I thought this thing was very interesting. Now I also, if you guys want to, I'd love to talk about WotC's 50th anniversary plans, which we didn't really talk about that much, Eric, when we talked about stuff, because
they have plans.
No, they really don't, and that Eric or Glenn, and that's the shocking. I think people are starting to realize they don't really have plans. I've seen some comments on Facebook from people like, "Wait a second, this is it? There's a John Peterson book, and then nothing. I mean, they don't have any activities planned, or so. So there is a special announcement to be made at GaryCon this year, and it's going to have it's going to be concurrent with the 50th anniversary, and there are people that know about it have had to sign an NDA about what the event is, and I talked to somebody who doesn't care about the NDA, and they told me what it is, and I was extremely underwhelmed. All apologies to whoever's involved, but I was still underwhelmed because it didn't flip my switch. It didn't do anything for me. So I don't know. This is going to be the duddiest of all 50th anniversaries. It's looking.
I mean, without going into details of what this is, it's not on the publication schedule of WotC. Right, WotC's announced a publication schedule for 2024. We know it's coming out. It isn't on that schedule. So read into it what you will. That's something that you could pretty much say it's not a WotC project. So
I mean, it's interesting, and I think it's not a bad direction, but it's not going to flip my switch because I was thinking what I might do is I might have to list my 10 things I hope happens in the 50th that I would have happen in the 50th anniversary. Because
you're going to do a David Letterman. Yeah, you're going to do a David Letterman 10 list.
Yeah,
they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything that I want. They're not going to do anything that I want, and so that I think would be good for 50th anniversary. And so because of that, I may have to make a list about what I want as a fan to see in the 50th anniversary that they're not going to do. And I mean, I have a few things off the top of my head. I think there's some products they could reissue. I'd love them to reissue. I don't know how they would do it because they got in trouble last time they did it, but I think it's far past time for a DVD release of all the issues of Dragon Magazine and all the issues of Dungeon Magazine. Now, I'd buy it. I would absolutely buy that. And I have them all in PDF. I have them all in PDF right now on my computer. I have them all. I've downloaded them from various sites. I have them all. I would buy an official CD-ROM of either all the dragons or all the dungeons.
All the dungeons, which I already have on my hard disk.
Yeah, I would say I've got them all too, but I would still buy it because it'd be nice to have a searchable format. Have a. I don't know what their rights are. I think dungeons would be easier to do than dragons. The problem with dragons is there were so many authors of so many articles, and they got in trouble for this before. Remember, Eric, when they
well, here's the thing. It wasn't the articles. It was the Knights of the Dinner Table.
Knights of the Dinner Table.
They had a I believe their license was single publication. Like you could publish it in the issue that you had, and that did not mean that you could republish it in digital format. Digital format rights were not given. Now, what I would love to see is take like Dragon magazine. I don't know, even by the decade, right? And give us a hardcover best of. Give us the articles that were the most striking, or
that would be good.
Or a hardcover from Dungeon Magazine, giving us the best AD&D 1E.
Absolutely, yeah.
The best AD&D 2E, the best AD&D 3E.
Give us the 20 best adventures, the last of their whole run, their 150 issue run. So that's something. So that number one, that's something I would pay for right there.
They already put a couple of two splat books out like that. Well, I bought them from you. I know that.
Number two, I would buy a product that's similar to what they released at the end of 4E and 4E and 5E, which was the Dungeons of Dread hardcover that had all the S1 through 4. Reprinted, and the really pretty hardcover. And then they did another one for Against the Slavers, really
and
nice.
They added a
They had a new adventure for that one. Skip Williams wrote an intro, and that's all they did was those two. And of course, they reissued the rule books also, which were nice. The gold books. If they did one, so I'm just gonna throw this out there. Do one for Desert of Desolation. That was a hit, a Tracy Hickman product. That was
those three.
There was three. Yeah, it was I1 or I3, I4, I5. Do a Desert of Desolation.
That was a good series.
Yeah, do a Giants. I mean, just do that. Do that again, and look, if you would sell that. I would buy that also. I would buy a compilation with some new material in there of some classic stuff. And I'm the one, Garrick, that always bitches the fact that they don't have any new ideas and they're always just coming out with remakes of classic. Well, if you're going to come up with remakes of classic over and over again, why not just reprint the originals in a kick-ass format with new art and make it look awesome? You know. It's calling me.
Somebody's telling you, don't pound your table.
Don't pound the table. I forgot about that. Pounding the table shuts me off.
Open the pod bay door, Hal.
But yeah, I mean, there's, and I tell you another thing. Here's something interesting. So, a lot of people had talked about when Janelle passed away. People came together and said they wanted to do a mega dungeon in honor of Janelle Jaquays.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, and a lot of authors have supposedly signed up for this. I don't know the status of it right now. Why don't you go out there and find Tracy Hickman, find Zeb Cook, find Steve Winter, find all these guys from the 80s, the golden age, they're still around. Have them do pay the men, pay them, find Jim whatever. And have them do a compilation, either a mega dungeon or a, whatever. And then you could have a 5e version plus an old school version. You could do a version in 5e and then do a version in regular. I would pay to buy that because I think that would be awesome. Notice these are all things that other companies do because Goodman Games, that they post that they had the big hardbacks where they posted a 5e and the original version of stuff like B1, B2.
Yep.
So this has already been done, and apparently, from what I understand, those sold really well. They sold really, really well.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, I mean that's off the top of my head. A couple of things that you're going to be celebrating. Now, I think the John Peterson book looks really nice, and it looks like it's a really amazing book. And I've seen it's hilarious because I've seen people complain about the cost, and I'm like, dude, that's what a book like it looks like. It's worth what $100 or whatever it's going to sell for. It looks pretty quality, man. It looks like it's going to be worth that $100. So, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff because you're looking at something that celebrates the hobby 50 years, and not just promoting your product you have now, but also giving homage to the 50 years before. And so I don't see really any of that, what I'm seeing, Eric. I'm not
No,
seeing
you know,
any
well,
homages.
Greg has a good point. It's hard to celebrate people doing something that you have openly called harmful
Right.
and put stickers or disclaimers on stuff saying that it is bad. So that
Oh yeah, the
from
woke.
prior
Yeah,
years is no longer acceptable, so they can't monetize it. And I'm sure it's killing them. I'm sure that the bean crunchers are like, we could do this. No, we can't do that. We said that stuff is evil. Well, what about this? No, we can't do that because we said these people that created
I
this stuff.
just lost you. I
See,
just lost me.
Oh, you
see
lost
but,
it?
but,
Oh
but Eric, they have no problem,
yeah,
at all with with reprinting, with actually doing updated versions of stuff like Tomb of Horrors, Against the Giants. I mean that was the whole book, the Yawning Portal. The Yawning Portal, all it was 5e updates of all these classic modules. So
Right.
they have no problem, robbing taking this stuff away if it makes them money. But they would never issue an exact reprint, because that would
No.
be saying, "Oh God, a reprint? No, we can't reprint that stuff. It's awful. It's terrible stuff."
now
Now,
there, I would buy this a hardback collection of all the GK stuff.
that would
That
be,
would that would
well,
be a nice tribute.
Janelle did do some. The problem with her output for TSR is it was all over the place. Because, like, for instance, she did FR5, The Savage Frontier, which was a source book for the Forgotten Realms.
Right.
She did a few, so she was just kind of all over the place. She did a lot more cover stuff because she did the Dragon Mountain coverage and stuff. She didn't necessarily. I think she did Talons of Night. So her output for TSR was really, it's really all over the
Sporadic.
place. I don't think it would be a very good book in that regard, in terms of, you'd be reprinting like two or three really oddball adventures that don't really have a lot of connection to each other. Um, but yeah, I mean, and then not only that, but Goodman Games is kind of doing this already. I got the notice yesterday they're shipping my Dark Tower, so I'm kind of excited about that. They'll be
Nice.
shipping my Dark Tower reprint soon. So when I get that, I'll be able to show that and show how nice that. Hopefully, it's really
Is
nice.
that a? Oh yeah, that's a 5e rework, isn't it?
No, it's Goodman Games. They did a. I don't think it's 5e. Maybe I'm
I
wrong.
think they may have updated it for 5e too.
Oh,
Did
maybe
it
they
did it
did.
like the other books?
Yeah, I don't think it was a straight reprint. I
I'm
Yeah,
not
believe
worried
it.
about it.
here it is. Here it is.
I
It
still got
is.
my original copy, so I'm
Let me
not
see.
worried.
It's Original Adventures Reincarnated, #7, Dark Tower. Let's see what they say here. They're
If
getting
it's
ready to
original Adventures
ship.
reincarnated, there's an update to it.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
3-volume slipcase 5e edition, and
three.
all 3-volume slipcase, because there's really
Wow.
there's a lot of new material in here. All new adventures, all new material, so it should be fun. And there'll be there's also a PDF version too.
Okay.
So yes, I'm looking here to see what's in the books. Volume 1 contains a reprint of the original adventure. So Volume 1 is the original adventure with
Of
introductory
course.
essays. So there's essays by John Rateliff, Eric Mona, Justin Alexander, James Malzewski, John Hirschberger, Stephen Newton, and others. That'll be cool. Volume 2 is a conversion to 5e or DCC. I think I picked the 5e version. And then Volume 3 is the Chosen Sons of Set in 5e, and that is a brand new adventure. It doesn't say who it's written by, though.
We
So
could do
yeah,
an OSR version.
this will be fun. Yeah, they didn't have an unfortunately they didn't have an OSR version, but one of the good things about 5e is
Now,
you can convert that on the fly almost. It's not that hard to convert.
now I find it would be really interesting to see what the DCC version of Dark Tower looks like.
Well, I didn't get that because
Probably
to me DCC is very hard to convert for me. I have a lot of problems converting DCC to old school. Not as quite as much as like 3E, but I've had a problem. I think I like DCC adventures, but I just don't see how to convert them most times. There's a lot of
Okay.
concepts that don't slide between old school and DCC very much. They're very DCC specific in how the rules run. So
That makes sense.
You're
anyway,
right.
so yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'll get that pretty soon, and we'll see how that looks. And so
Yeah, that looks like fun. Sounds like fun.
Now that's a great 50th anniversary D&D.
Hey, if you get it in time to bring it to the con, I'd like to look at it.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I just paid for the shipping for it, so I'm thinking it's going to be here in the next month or so at the very latest. So.
Okay, cool. I don't have any Kickstarters yet. Okay.
But what's the official word? I don't know if we went over this, Eric, or not. What is their official release schedule for the 50th anniversary? Besides the John Peterson book, and they have something called Ruins of Vecna or Ruin of Vecna, which is a special 5e adventure, I guess.
I don't know. Is it really a 50th anniversary? So 50th anniversary would be the new edition of D&D, or the new whatever it is.
Yeah, it's called Vecna Eve of Ruin, and it's $70 pre-order right now. The release date's going to be in May. It's a very high level 5e adventure. So. Here it is. The 2024 core rulebooks provide new options for players and DMs, along with updates and improvements to the classes, mechanics, items, and monsters of 5th edition. All updates are being done with care to make sure anything from 5th edition will continue to be fully playable. We talk about this, so that they've gone to a lot of trouble, Eric, to make this backwards compatible. But from what we understand, it's backwards compatible in a way that doesn't make it good to play the older editions.
Well, you're not going to take the older classes and play them with the new classes; they'll be underpowered. That's
okay. Yeah.
And your new books will have no reference to slavery, dim-witted, uncivilized, and all this other stuff. We've already seen the changes brought up in
Excuse me.
That's what's going to be in. I know. It makes you tear. Basically, they are padding D&D to make it a safe space for everybody. So nobody should ever read something and go, "Well, hold on a second. I've been called dim-witted. That makes me a hill giant." Really,
you know what? All I could do is quote Candace Owen: "Life is hard. Get a helmet."
That's the reason half-orcs can't be savage anymore, because God forbid that you insult a real life half-orc and the real life half-orc knows they're savage. That would be awful.
Right.
Because the half-orcs have been known to read D&D products and to get all upset about being referred to as savage or primitive. And I think those are two words that are out too, right? Savage and primitive.
Savage, primitive, uncivilized.
Uncivilized. Yeah, uncivilized.
Primitive, yeah.
And then, so I was going to say, so one of my other 50th anniversary, what Bad Mike would do 50th anniversary, I would take a classic world.
Are they really from Ruffia?
A classic set like Dark Sun, Planescape, whatever, and I would have done that as a 50th anniversary redo, and I would have reprinted one of the classic campaign worlds. I don't know, Ravenloft, Dragonlance, Dark Sun, probably Dark Sun or Planescape. Those seem to be the ones fans are really, really looking forward to. And I would have done a
so could we call them white trash?
Oh well, yeah.
Oh, no, you can call them white trash.
No, trailer. Call them trailer trash.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
Well, you got to put the white in front of it first.
Yeah.
White first. Make sure. And
trailer trash shows no color.
So the
trailer trash is trailer trash.
So you say that hilarious that slavery and what all that stuff is so on, but stabbing people in the face okay? I don't know if that's going to be okay much longer. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they would not mind at all if they had storytelling games where nobody ever swung a sword. I'm
waiting for them to outlaw backstabbing from thieves or assassins. Well,
I've already made some predictions. One of my predictions is the charm spell will go away pretty soon, sooner rather than later. I think that's very problematic for them. I think anything mind controlling, I think will go away eventually. You will not be able to mind control people, or if you mind control somebody and you're doing something that's that's bad fun, they'll immediately break the charm, and they'll be okay.
Well, or mind control only works against non-player characters. Cannot be used against PCs.
Sure.
PCs have immunity because you can't have players doing things they wouldn't want that character doing.
Right. Right.
You're taking away player agency as opposed to it being a game first. Player agency must be taken.
Last night, Matt's Castles and Crusades game, we were jumped by about 4 ettercaps along with some giant spiders, and one of our characters managed to cast hypnotism on one and told it to walk away, and it did. Now I don't see that leaving because hypnotism is a real thing.
I think if you had a monster though, that's a monster that they're not. So what this boils down to is, I think they're not going to let you possibly role play what they would consider a harassment or assault. In other words, if I am playing with D&D with Eric and I charm his character and I tell him, go take all your clothes off and roll around in the mud in the middle of the street of this village. And he goes, they don't want that to happen. Even if it's happening at your table with your players and nobody else, they don't want that to be a possibility. Because Eric is going to later on get all upset and go on YouTube and say, D&D encourages people to humiliate and harass and sexually assault characters, because here's what happened to my character. I was charmed and I failed my save, and the guy forced me to take my clothes off and roll around in the mud, and I was humiliated. D&D is a terrible game. It's awful. And so that's what they don't want to happen. And they're going to, I think,
boy, it's a good thing he didn't tell you good thing he didn't tell you were chicken.
No, I'm just saying. I don't think they even want that in the game. I think they want that gone. I think they absolutely want that gone. And so I think that's on their list of things to eventually take care of, and eventually take off the list.
Well, I mean, listen, this has been games have. It isn't just something that applies to WotC. If you were somebody who got the Tunnels and Trolls Deluxe. They changed spells that were there for 30 years, and
some they didn't.
Some, and they took away the more, not even whimsical names. Were they offensive? Yes, Amasa was probably offensive.
Oh God, yeah, that was.
They finally changed that one. Poor baby became heel, and other stuff because.
Poor baby became.
Yeah, poor baby was. Yeah.
What's about that? Don't answer that. I don't want to know. Never mind.
They were trying to make the game more modern in its appeal. Games, you could have funny names for spells, and nobody batted an eye back in the 70s and 80s. Get to 2010, all of a sudden it's like, oh. Poor baby. That's kind of like offensive to you. It's like that you get hit and injured in the game, and all of a sudden you're a baby. Well, we got to take that out. It's a joke. But
and I also think eventually they will formalize the fact that that you should be using X cards at the table. I think that's going to be something.
I will never, ever use an X card at a table, whether I'm running it or playing it.
I understand that, but they're going to what they're going to eventually do in D&D is say this is an absolutely acceptable thing that you can do. You don't. They're going to say you don't have to do it, but we're going to use it in our play leagues and this and that. We're going to say this is an absolutely something that you can bring in, and that if characters want to use it, they can. So I think that'll be formal.
No. Come on. Even young kids, you got to give them. I want to treat my customers like adults for once. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
What? Oh, come on, man. Yeah. We don't want adults customers. We want them to have adult income to spend money, but we don't want adults. They might actually see through our shit and realize that we're pandering. And then that
I
becomes
mean, any mature people, and I'm saying this because it's kind of a loaded statement, but mature people at the table wouldn't be doing that stuff in the first
It needs
place.
to be air fried.
Yeah, but you got to realize too that
And I say that because there's a lot of people out there who are not mature at the table.
I'm about to say D&D players have their share of immature players. You know.
Yes.
And people are always going to be true. People are always going to be immature at their own table, but their issue is to formalize to basically virtue signal these things to the leagues they're going to be in, like D&D league, and they're going to formalize this as, look, you can still do whatever you want at your own table, but officially this is what we would love you to do. We'd love you to play this way. And to use
I was going to say I miss the RPGA, but if it was still around, they'd probably do the same damn thing.
Oh God, they would have been ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
that'd be my expectation. Somewhere in my collection, I still have my RPGA card.
Yeah, me too. I had like 3 or 4.
Okay,
I still have my RPGA battle mat.
My one Gen Con got me to Player 3.
And my Emra calls Fist. That was fun.
Ooh, the big giant dice, yeah.
Yes,
I love
the kind I throw at a player if he's really giving me a hard time.
All right, Mike. Tell us the reason why we brought you on was to talk about EGG. I don't mean E. Gary Gygax.
All right, let me get my cheat sheet up here. Hold on. My in-world cheat sheet, so I can go if I misremember something, I can flip to the page real quick. And so
you're not allowed to misremember. You're not allowed to misremember.
So basically, Evil Genius Games, they got their start in 2020. Was it that soon? Maybe it was a little long. I think it was 2021. Founded in December 2021, and they made their bones by buying properties. And some of the properties they bought were like I believe Highlander. Let me see if I can find the list here.
What properties did they bought the rights?
They bought the properties. I'm sorry, you're right, Eric. They bought the rights to publish games for these properties. Now, first of all, if you know anything about the game industry, buying the rights to properties is a double-edged sword. Because you have to decide, am I going to sell enough product based on this property, which sometimes isn't a tier 1 property. Like something like Highlander is not really a tier 1 property. It's kind of it's a mid-tier property. Am I going to make enough money to basically make it worth the while to pay the licensing fees for that? And that's why a lot of companies, and I'll say Frog Out Games, one of them, we do not buy any licensed properties because it just doesn't make sense financially. So now there's some companies, I know Green Ronin does a lot of. I mean, they did the Expanse property. They do a lot of this. It usually helps you get your name out there, but it doesn't necessarily make you a lot of money. It's almost like it's a what do you call it?
Loss leader.
Loss leader. It's almost like it's a loss leader. But some of the properties they have were Pacific Rim, Skull Island, which is a Kong, Highlander, Escape from New York, The Crow, Total Recall, Rambo, and Universal Soldier. So none of those. Look at this. I don't think any of those are tier 1 properties. Those are kind of tier 2, tier 3 properties, right? I mean, yeah, I could see somebody I know might want to run a game, Escape from New York, a role-playing type game. I don't see a lot of people doing that. I just don't see it. And a lot of these properties, at least to me, seem to harken back to old school. Like kids nowadays, it seems like The Crow just came out yesterday, but The Crow came out like 30 years ago. People don't know Total Recall or Universal Soldier or even Highlander anymore, So I just don't know how people are going to want to play in those universes. So that they spent a lot of money buying that. Now, what was interesting about Evil Genius Games was they had financiers. They had this group of investors who were venture capitalists, and also they ran tech firms. So they ran quite a different style of company than a lot of other companies do. Most companies do not have any kind of white hat investors there, or investing companies. The problem when you have investors is, as anything else, you're beholden to your investors. You have to show a profit. There's basically stockholders. They put up money. Well, they were able to raise $1 million in funding for these investors. And so this is what kind of kept. So this is what they used to finance the buying these properties or licensing these properties with this $1 million. They only had, I think, they only had the one initial financing round. But they did their big property was also doing D20 Modern. I don't know if you guys know a lot of D20 Modern was a pretty popular system.
I remember that.
Day. Yeah. So my problem is I'm reading all this and I'm thinking they're investing a lot of time and money in what I would consider tier 2 and tier 3 products. There's no D&D in here. First of all, D20 Modern, while people liked it, it's not a people don't clamor every year like, man, we've got to bring back D20 Modern. I mean, it was popular when it was out, but that was once again 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And so they were relying on nostalgia for a lot of their brand names and a lot of their titles. They're I mean, Rambo, Total Recall, that is nostalgia, right? That's exactly what that is.
Yep.
So anyway, they ended up with about $1.5 million in funding. They had a lot of resources, and that it seems like a lot of money. They lost it all in a year. It was all gone in a year.
Amazing.
Nobody is really sure what happened. Well, it was lost by 2023, so about a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah, hookers and blow, it'll do that to you.
The big issue came when they licensed the Rebel Moon property. So for those of you who have Netflix, Rebel Moon is Zack Snyder, a guy who did a lot of DC movies, did Superman. He's kind of a lot of comic book guys really love him. A lot of people hate him. He's very polarizing in what he does. He makes really kind of dark superhero movies. A lot of people really didn't like his Superman because his Superman was kind of dark and the first movie there was a lot of deaths in it. And they said Superman's not about dying and that he's about the great American way, blah blah blah. Anyway, so he has this he had a concept that was going to be a Star Wars movie. It was called Rebel Moon. Disney and Star Wars didn't. They saw the property, they passed on it. Like, yeah, we're not interested. So he took that, he reworked it a little bit and made this sci-fi whatever called Rebel Moon. I don't know if you guys have Netflix and you've seen it. It's been available on Netflix. You can watch it on Netflix. It's so that they licensed this because this was going to be a giant property. They thought. Because Zack Snyder's behind it. The previews looked amazing. Lots of ray guns and assassins and ships blowing up, and I mean just all kinds of really cool visual stuff. The problem was, I saw it and I wasn't too impressed because I found out later that they cut a whole entire hour out of it, and they were going to issue that the included hour later. The problem, I think that hour, unfortunately, had all the characterization that didn't have and explained the plot better, which didn't make any sense. So it didn't do very well on Netflix. Anyway, so Netflix they canceled the license before. Evil Genius Games did a lot of work on this. They put a lot of writers on this, artists. They pretty much wrote an entire book based on this Rebel Moon movie. It's actually going to be a trilogy. Actually, there's going to be 3 movies in all. Netflix pulled the license. They said the reason they did it was there was confidentiality breaches. And so I'm reading this, and I'll be honest with you, I think that was just an excuse to pull the license because confidentiality breaches. I mean, come on, Rebel Moon was not that big a success. Nothing that they breached really mattered at all. It didn't. I mean, I never heard of any confidentiality breaches that mattered, and I watched the trailer a few times, and I would look for stuff on Rebel Moon. I didn't know what the breaches were about. I don't know, but they pulled it saying like, look, we trusted you guys to do this game, and you let this stuff breed. So we're pulling the license. So Evil Genius Games, and so they told him, we're gonna, for the work you've already done, we're gonna give you $50,000. And the CEO said, no. Whoa, no, that's not enough. And I think he saw little stars in his eyes, little dollar signs like the cartoons. So he decided Evil Genius Games was going to sue Netflix. And if that doesn't sound like a good idea to you, you're right. It's probably
who else? Never mind. Not going to go there.
It's a terrible idea because because what they were suing over is, well, so here's what their case was. Well, we wrote all this new material for Rebel Moon, and we noticed that it showed up in the movie. So you took our material, you said you didn't want it, you tried to pay us off $50,000, but you used our material in the movie. However, there was one fatal flaw here. The fatal flaw was the movie was already finished and shot by the time the work on the Rebel Moon game had begun. So there was really no case. There's really no case here. There's no case at all. And Netflix was able to prove in court that everything was already finished by the time this was done. So they couldn't have borrowed anything from the Rebel Moon book. Which, by the way, that would have been suicide anyway. Companies are smarter than that. I mean, companies don't. If you license material, like over the years, Star Wars has been licensed several times. Anytime a character in the Star Wars comic book becomes famous, Disney will buy that. They buy that from you in case they want to use it, and their contract says we're allowed to use anything in these books as part of our property. They cover their ass because they don't want you to come back later and say, "Hey, I wrote this real powerful character called Darth Vader's son, and you used it in your movie. And you didn't give me credit." What Disney has to do is point to the contract and say, "Well, part of the contract is all you did is work for hire. So your work for hire work, yes, we did take it." So it was really it was basically a dumb case, and they wasted a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of lawyers on this, and they were so sure they were going to win this. It sounds like somebody else doing a case that they're really sure they're going to win. Oh well, never mind. So anyway, they were so sure they were going to win this that they kept telling their employees. So they weren't paying their employees. They ran out of money at a certain point. They had their employees working on spec or just working for free, and they kept telling them, "Don't worry, when this comes through, we're going to make a lot of money. I mean, we're going to get the $50,000 is chicken feed. We're going to get $500,000 or more than that." Netflix denied Netflix denied all this stuff, and they did a counterclaim against them. Well, what it ended up happening was there was a settlement reached, because I think at that point, Evil Genius Games saw they were going to get beaten. They're lucky probably to get a settlement. So I saw it here. I forgot about this. The CEO, Scott, he wanted $3 million from Netflix. He wanted them to pay $3 million. Now, the $3 million would have paid off a lot of bills, too. Instead they settled for something people say was far less. And I'm thinking also, Eric, if they offered $50,000 up front and then they had to settle, I don't think they got $50,000 for the settlement.
I think they would have been happy to get their. Listen, for them it would be a win if they got their legal costs back.
I think that, and so I don't even know why. I think Netflix felt like they did owe them something. I don't know, but Netflix, from everything I'm reading, Netflix would have just absolutely just curb stomped them on this case. But instead, they said, no, let's go ahead and settle it. And I think a lot of cases, as long as your lawyer's not a lunatic, like some of the lawyers we know, Eric, they want to settle. They don't want to go to court with this stuff. So I'm pretty sure Evil Genius Games' lawyer was not a lunatic. And he said, look, we just want to settle at this point. What can you give us? What will you part with? We know you're probably not going to give us $50,000 because that was your initial offer, and that's probably off the table. What can you give us to do this right? Well, this was basically the beginning of the end. I'm not even going to go into all the controversial technologies that they wanted to use, including Eric, NFTs. That was a big part of their money-making strategy, was NFTs. And we all know what happened with NFTs.
Well, actually, yeah. What happened with NFTs? You don't hear anything about NFTs.
Because it was a stupid idea that didn't make any sense. And once people looked at it, kind of like, crypto, and they said, this seems like it's a Ponzi scheme, which NFTs are absolutely a Ponzi scheme. People just started getting out of them and stopped spending money on them. So anyway, this was basically, this all happened. This is going on last year. The settlement wasn't until January. They had a team meeting in late 2023 where they basically said, look, we're not going to pay you guys. We want you to still work. And so people started trickling out after that, all the way through when they made this settlement in January. And it's just an absolute freaking disaster. On top of all this, on top of this company being really badly run and having all kinds of financial issues, there has been quite a few claims that it was a very hostile and difficult work environment. Some of the accusations I saw basically fell under the handle of Me Too. I mean, people were getting were getting told things that like in one meeting, apparently a female employee. The CEO said, "Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to make any money this quarter. We might have to whore you out to make some money." This is a professional meeting with your staff, and you're telling one of your female members of the staff you might have to whore your. It's a joke, right? He's joking, but he's telling her that she may have to whore herself out for them to pay their bills. Who the fuck says that or does that?
Nobody.
In 2024, I mean, we just went through Me Too. We just went through the whole Me Too shit. People went to jail and prison over it. People won millions of dollars. And this guy thinks it's okay to say that. To say, like, yeah, you need to whore yourself out. Women, he said he loved hiring women because they were easier to train. And the implication was they're like dogs. You can train them like dogs and they'll, sniff at your feet and, wag their tails.
They don't make a mess on the bowl, the toilet bowl, like men do. Men always miss the bowl, or so I've been told.
But there's cleaner. If you read the Emerald page, there's about 20 or 30 accusations of absolutely unprofessional, horrible behavior. He would insult employees. He would tell them they're stupid, say your work's substandard. And of course, all the while they're doing that, he's not paying them. He's not paying them for their work, but he's saying your work's terrible, which makes no sense to me. At least blow smoke up their ass, right? Say, oh, your work's great because you're not getting paid for it, but I think it's wonderful. But he was apparently just an absolutely horrible bipolar boss that just couldn't, just kept changing his priorities, kept changing whatever. Anyway, so all this has come out, and Evil Genius Games is pretty much in the toilet at this point because now that people are quitting the job or getting laid off or leaving, they're all coming forward and saying, yeah, this is a terrible place to work, and here's what happened to me. And so you got a lot of Me Too stories. You got a lot of he treated me like garbage, and look, we found out through Paizo, because remember the Paizo screw up a few years ago. For some reason, people in the gaming industry will let themselves be treated like dirt. I don't get this because a lot of them are very talented people, and all I can think is they just don't think they're going to be able to get a job anywhere else in the industry, and so they put up with it. That's what the people at Paizo did when they were telling Paizo people, "Hey, you're basically working for your apartment rent. We're not really going to pay you, but we're going to pay for your apartment.
Like you want to eat, you need a second job."
Yeah, they told them that, didn't they? Yeah,
you have to freelance for us if you want money for food. But and be glad that your housing is it subsidized housing from Paizo. It's like you're in that Paizo apartment, right, with 4 others. Yeah. Oh, good.
I mean, so Paizo, for those who don't remember, they had a certain apartment complex that everybody had to live in because it was cheap, and they got a deal from the management, and they had to shack up 2 or 3 in a hotel or an apartment. So they would tell you, hey, if you want to work for us, we're not going to pay you living wages. What we're going to do is we're going to get you a sweetheart deal with this apartment over here. Now, it's a shit-ass apartment, and it's terrible, but you're going to be able to live there, and you're going to be able to work close to the Paizo offices. By the way, you're living there with Ed and Benny, because that's your new roommates. And it's gonna be a really cheap rent because rent in Seattle is really expensive or whatever, wherever rented or wherever. But this is where you're gonna live. And they just said, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" They just said, "Okay, I guess we have to do that."
Wow.
And so they went and lived in a crappy apartment with other roommates. And they told him, as Eric said, by the way, you might want to get another job if you work here, even though they were working 40-hour or more weeks. They were working a full 40-hour week there. They were saying, like, you need to have a second job. So for some reason, Evil Genius Games thought this is a great strategy because they did the same thing. They pretty much worked for Paizo. They got the people to work for nothing. I think the people at Evil Genius Games may be a little smarter though, because they've all started quitting and leaving, and they've got the company down. I think at this point they're only down to 6 people. They did at one point they had 25, I think.
More than 30.
Yeah, but yeah, it was an absolute S show. I think they may have won this week in Gaming Stupid for. We're gonna extend this for a few weeks because WotC has cleaned up their act this year in terms of that they're not doing anything as stupid as this. They're doing some stupid stuff, but nothing is as stupid as this. This is like a primer on how you do not run not just a gaming company but any company at all. You do not run a company like this. So anyway, if I would suggest people check out the M-Word article written by Morris, who's actually, as Eric and I said, he's done some good work lately. He he's slacked off for a few years and didn't get anything done, but he's actually doing some good work. But this is an incredible expose, and just if you want to read about some juicy stories about bad behavior in the gaming industry, look no further than the expose on Evil Genius Games because it's pretty wild and crazy. It's
pretty spicy, huh?
Extremely spicy, Glenn. It is a spicy meatball. So
it is a spicy meatball. I put the link in the chat, by the way, folks.
Yeah, and the best part is make sure you hit the comments because a lot of people who work for Evil Genius Games pop up in the comments because they don't work there anymore, and they are like, "Yep, let me tell you some stories." So they will they're dishing a little bit on what happened there at Evil Genius Games behind the scenes too. So anyway, so it was that was pretty. It's hard for me to, as bad as WotC just screwed up last year. This is pretty bad, man. This is a monumental screw up, of a company that had that started out with a lot of money and a lot of promise, and within 2 years lost all their money and lost all their promise. So,
wow.
And I also have heard from people. I've talked to people. Apparently, the books they did come out with were very well written. The staff did a very good job. That they did some really nice books. But a lot of books are in limbo now because they were finished and now they don't have money to publish them. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of left speechless because we've had one of those weeks. I thought this week I'd be spending a lot of time on Dragon Slayer, doing looking at Greg's words of wisdom and doing some videos on that. And instead, it's just been Dragonlance news. It's been news on the Hugos. It's going to be Evil Genius Games probably tomorrow. I mean, for a video. It keeps you busy.
Yeah, I tell you, Eric. Here's the sad part about it. Let's say we had $1.5 million and we were able to invest that. And I would say, look, okay, here's the deal. I'm calling up Matt Finch. I'm calling up Greg Gillespie. I'm calling up Jeff Talanian. These are 3 people that run their own companies. I'd call up Zach Glazer, and I would say, look, I have $1.5 million. I'd love to invest it with you guys. Give me some ideas. I guarantee you, Eric, you come up with anything, but you would make your money back in 3 years. You would make your money back plus more if you gave those people that kind of money. Because those are people who work with a budget and know how to work Kickstarters and don't go over budget and don't, screw up their stuff and don't, treat their employees shitty. These are people that do a good job at their work. And I just think it's mind-boggling. These people can't get this shit right. Not just this, but the Hugo thing too. I mean, I can't believe these are professional people and they can't get their shit right.
No. With the Hugo thing, I look at that and I'm like, everybody was talking about, oh, look, Tencent is buying the D&D IP. Imagine if they did. Imagine if the Chinese Communist Party controlled your D&D IP.
There'd be no ghosts. There'd be no more ghosts. And all the skeletons would have to have rags on them, or whatever else.
They must be clothed.
Yeah. All the undead has to be clothed, and there's no scary spirits or ghosts or whatever because they don't like that. So, that
spooky,
would be,
scary skeletons. Yeah.
Which is one reason why I always say, and I've been saying for a few months now, that it's all about the OSR at this point. I don't care what WotC does anymore. I don't care what the next iteration of D&D is anymore. I don't care if they do something with Forgotten Realms. I don't care if they do something with Greyhawk. I don't care what they do anymore. It just doesn't matter to me, because I have my nostalgia and I have my versions that I like. I don't care about what they're doing anymore. It doesn't make sense to worry about what they do anymore.
You're very welcome, Bruce. By the way, yes, Ardenville is one hell of a mega dungeon with factions and everything. I actually have it in print, thanks to the amazing generosity of this community and using the affiliate links. I bought that in print. I don't know when it first got released.
I have a PDF. I don't remember if I got it on sale, or I don't think I spent a lot of money on it, but I have the PDF. That is a pretty amazing product. That is an absolutely amazing product.
You know, I would piecemeal it myself. I'd never run it as is because I'd go insane.
There's a lot of work, but he put a lot of work into that. There's tons of factions. I mean, there's so much in there. It's incredible. So.
Yep.
Oy vey.
How is that?
This has been a disgusting segment because it's about how terrible the business is. The business is shit. And thank God we have the OSR. We have people like Jeff Delaney and Matt Finch and Zach Glazer and Greg Gillespie and Tom Wilson and who am I leaving out, and Luau Lu and all these guys that are just doing a great job, you know, and Mark Hunt and these guys that actually know how to run a business and can actually put out a product that are right.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about this kind of shit going on in the OSR. You know, this kind of shit can.
Yeah, we got our own shit to worry about.
Yeah, but you know, our shit. The shenanigans that goes on in the OSR are so much simpler, so much smaller. We do a very much better job at keeping our own house in order. I think it's because we are smaller, and it's easier to do so.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We police each other. We don't eat our young.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
you look at these big companies too, and I think a lot of it. You know, we saw this through the doctor, whatever her name was. Well, I can't remember her name.
That paper.
Dr. D.
That
Dr.
paper.
Dr. C. What was her name? Doctor whatever. We saw that because Dr. Cleo. All these people wanted just to backstab each other. They weren't trying to elevate each other, help each other. They were all like, I'm going to say Whisper Network against this person because I don't like this person. And most of the time it was done for no reason whatsoever. They just didn't like each other. I don't think you really have that in the OSR. Everybody seems to be lifting each other up, you know?
Good idea.
And they're all helping each other, and they all give criticism to each other, but they also give kudos to each other.
Right.
It's just a really great community. It's a really great community to be in.
We're best. We're the best.
Well, we don't treat this as a zero sum, where if somebody does well, that means that I have to lose. No, somebody else doing well means hopefully I do even better too.
And that's the OSR in a nutshell. Rising all boats.
Yeah, because everybody look. There's room for all flavors in the OSR. You know, if you want your BX flavor, if you want your 1E flavor, your zero, your OE flavor, your 2E flavor, your there's a room for every bit of that in the OSR, which is great. And you know, nobody really poaches off each other and says, "Oh, well, because Greg's Dragon Slayer was successful, that's going to screw with my book." Nobody says that, because Dragon Slayer is not Swords of Wizardry, and Swords of Wizardry is not Hyperborea. These are all different systems created by intelligent people who are able to have their own vision and not just piggyback off other people's visions again.
Yeah. So how do we dovetail this into the con? Since we're talking about the OSR. So.
Well, I mean, that's the great thing about the con too, especially about North Texas over a lot of other cons, is we have all those flavors at North Texas. We're going to probably have every one of those games run, and if we get Raggy back, which we're looking at getting it back, we'll have Lamentations run there too, and that's
and we deign to let them play 5th edition.
If you want to play 5, yeah. And so all the flavors will be there. You'll have your Swords and Wizardry, you'll have your Dragon Slayer, you'll have your Hyperborea, you may have your Lamentations, You'll probably have some straight BX, some straight 1E, some straight 2E. I mean, it's all going to be there. It's all going to be a part of it.
By the way,
You'll have your Shadow Dark. You'll have your Shadow Dark there. There's been a lot of people wanting to submit some Shadow Dark games, so definitely.
By the way, this weekend I'm going to be texting Mark Hunt. He said he'd know if he's coming after today.
Oh, we'd love to have Mark back. That's all.
I'd love to. Yeah, me too. I'm. It's one of these.
Yeah.
It's I'm hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. We just need more roommates. That's all.
Yeah. So, quick things. Our hearts and our sympathies go out to Greg Gillespie, who lost his mother earlier this week.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awful.
Yeah. Greg, I'm sorry.
So I've been talking with Greg more about Dragon Slayer stuff, but this is if Greg is slow to answer anything, any of your questions or inquiries, just understand he's got a lot going on right now. I'm trying to think what else. That's an affiliate link on the bottom of the screen for Cyberpunk Red. Yeah, I didn't tell you it was an affiliate link. Tomorrow night on Gamers Health, I am to let everybody know that Rage will be doing Narcan training. So with actual Narcan. It's an expired Narcan, so I guess that's what she's going to use.
She's not going to shoot you up with drugs and then you have you.
No. It's the inhaler. It's the inhaler. It's not the injector. It's the inhaler.
Okay.
All right. Most, if not, state, if you reach out to the right organization in the state, they will supply you with Narcan for free. Otherwise, it's about $35, maybe $40. It's something that everybody should probably have in their homes. If not for your family, for a neighbor, for sometimes you will be the closest one, and depending on where you live, EMS or the police may not be there quick enough to render aid. It might be you. So, Rach was like, just make sure you keep telling people we'll be doing this. It's going to be a special Gamers Health tomorrow at 8:00.
Cool.
At our next Triple D, I should be drinking. No, wait a minute. No. What? I don't want to do that. I'll be accused of being an alcoholic again. I don't want to.
No, nobody accused you of being an alcoholic. They accuse you of being what I am.
I'm just grinding an old axe.
But by the way, folks, just another quick update. Next week, Rach and I will be at TotalCon. So,
cool.
I'm going to talk with Joe. Joe has full admin rights, so maybe Joe will host the Random Party Generator next week on Joe's channel.
Crazy.
So we don't have to skip the live stream. I'm just throwing that out there.
Now, what about next Wednesday?
I'll be here.
Grid.
I'm leaving Thursday morning.
Okay.
We get up there Thursday afternoon. Registered for no games, but I think apparently Bob Goodenough. I think it was his last name right. Bob is in the same place as we are. He registered for his badge, but then forgot to register for games. You can't register for games now. So I'm going to go with Drinking Quest and Swordsman's Relight and one other game and some deck of random dungeon. I will deal out an adventure basically and have it ready to be run for a pickup group whenever we're ready to play. So we'll make sure we're entertained. Bob's talking about running Paranoia. So if you're going to be at TotalCon and your game schedule is light, search out me and we'll figure something out. Got to find out where the open gaming is. That's all. I'm trying to. Wow, I see naked people every day. What did I miss?
What the hell?
Oh my God!
Wow. Oh well, yeah, San Francisco, yeah, okay, the West Coast, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, either coast, man, either coast is having its problems. And no, Ty.
Oh my God, Ty comes in the last 1 minute as Diesel.
It's like college, right? Like he's the asshole that comes in right before the class gets dismissed, right? I just want to make sure you saw my face, Professor.
Yeah, I mean, don't put me as not attending today. I came in the last 5 minutes.
Is he the guy who comes in 5 minutes before last call at a bar?
Oh God! Wait! Hold on a second. Can you just line me up? Like, how many do I got to buy to get a buyback?
Yeah,
3?
yeah. There we go.
Give me 3 so I can get my 4. Just line them up in front. Don't worry about it. I'll finish them all in the next 5 minutes. Don't worry. I got it. I got it. Can you put it in a big to-go cup? A red Solo cup, so I can.
I had this super big gulp here cup. You can put it in.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I've got my Stanley cup. Can you put it in my Stanley?
A Yeti. We got a Yeti. Yeah.
No. I got the Stanley. I got the one that the woman's car burned up, and it still had ice in it after her car.
Oh.
Wow.
Should have put the ice in her car.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey. So, and I will say, I have enjoyed my Stanley, but I'm not a Stanley collector. I don't know if you've heard those stories of people freaking out, getting this. Gotta go to Target. Gotta get those Stanley Cups.
Oh, the pink one. Yeah, the pink one. Everybody's hot.
Don't you have to win those in hockey?
Everybody's hot for those pink cups.
Oh, it's a different Stanley Cup. So it's a different Stanley. I'm sorry.
Stanley.
No. So,
well, I guess we're not going to talk movies tonight because I got nothing.
Nothing.
I got one question to ask you real quick, Glenn, about a movie.
Grant Stewart.
I fell asleep on the sofa the other night, and I woke up in the middle of a movie. It was Clark Gable, and it was a Western. And it was really good, and I saw the end of it, and then I passed out, and I didn't check and see what movie it was. I probably could check IMDb, but I haven't yet. Off the top of your head, can you think about Clark Gable in a Western?
All I can think of is in like the Misfits.
It wasn't
or
the Misfits,
like,
though. Yeah,
something like the San Francisco or.
He's in a lot.
I know. I'm looking right now. It says that he was in about
The King and Four Queens, Across the Wide Missouri.
And so I didn't. Yeah. So I don't even know how I'm going to find this. I didn't know he did that. It said he did. He said he did over 50 westerns.
The Tall Men. The Call of the Wild.
Yep.
The Tall Men sounds about right.
These are all between 1934 and 1953.
Hey,
so
what are you watching? What are we watching? TCM or something?
No, it was a Roku channel, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, and it was like halfway through this movie, and like an idiot, I started watching it, didn't look at the name, and I'm watching.
Ty says the Tall Men with Jane Russell.
I think that was it, because I think Jane Russell was the chick in there.
Yeah.
Might have been it. I'll look that one up.
By the way, if you want to see something amusing, find the 30s movie called Dancing Lady. You get to see Clark Gable with Joan Crawford and the Three Stooges.
Wow.
Gosh,
what? That's quite the variety pack.
But is it any good, Glenn? That's the question.
Who cares about good? It's the Stooges.
Yeah, I just think that's wild though, because I know the westerns were really popular in the 40s and 50s and even the early 60s, but I'm just so shocked he did 50 westerns between 34 and I guess it's 66. He did 30. I mean, he did a lot of westerns, and because you know him for Gone with the Wind, right? Gone with the Wind, and that's what you think, but no, he did a buttload of westerns apparently.
Wow. Yeah, Gone with the Wind, The Misfits, Red Dust. So all those that you know him for, but hardly any westerns. Or he did a lot of westerns. I mean, you don't know.
I'm gonna go through some of these and see. Are they? I mean, these aren't all Clark Gable. I don't think these are all Clark Gable westerns. I'm gonna look through there. I'm gonna find out definitively. Damn it! How many westerns Clark Gable did? Because I think this list is wrong. I'm looking over it, and I don't think he was in some of those movies. So, gotta look him over. Gotta find out how many westerns.
Gotta get them all.
Gotta get them all.
Gotta. Folks, huge thank you to Glenn.
Yes.
Now, Now, Glenn, we don't come back for 3 weeks, right? Because that's going to be a fifth.
Oh,
Yeah, unless. Well, you know what, folks? Glenn and I will decide which Friday we're taking off when we get closer to it. We might do we might do, and then take off the first one in March. Oh my God, this year is going by so fast. Holy crap!
well, I may have. We're moving next month.
Right, so maybe holding it off, maybe doing doing a third Friday, so we can skip a first Friday might be good for you.
By the way, we
But
didn't get the house.
but
We're
that
going out
sucks.
to Yeah, somebody came in with a better offer. That's all right. We're going to be out tomorrow around 10:30 to go look at a couple of more.
But by the way, definitively, Clark Gable did 8 westerns, and I have them all here. And Ty's wrong. The one I saw was not the Tall Man, even though it looks like a really good western because it hasn't changed. But I'll look through these now. I have the descriptions. I can look and see which one it was. But
And
yes,
I think he's gone now, but
he did 8 westerns, so I need to look and see
Okay.
which one is him, which one I saw. So, but I
All
want
right,
to see I want to see all these westerns. I'm going to see all
And
these westerns and report back to you.
Who's
and
gone?
I think he's signed off now. But thank you, George, for all you're doing with the Emperor's Choice and signing on and listening to us for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. That's stuff. The good stuff. And also, I'm thinking, Eric, is Greg still here, or did he pop off? I think he left.
I think he popped off.
Yeah.
Gillespie? I don't know. I don't know if he
Yeah.
chimed in today.
Yeah. We may need to have Greg on the show one of these days because he's got a bunch
Yeah.
of material. He's got some new material out, some really nice stuff. He does really good stuff. Greg does great stuff. So
Yeah.
Christopher, Greg Christopher.
yeah, Greg Christopher, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we gotta bring the Christopher back. The
Oh, yeah.
the Menge. Um,
What a mensch.
thank you to Mike for popping in to give us the.
Oh,
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
He's like
I appreciate it.
our traveling reporter. It's like Mike comes with the.
He's
facts.
our guy on the street there.
I just wanted to cover something that we didn't have time to cover this week. So
Mike gets worked up and he's like, it's a Friday night.
Our field correspondent.
Field correspondent reporting from the great state of Texas.
Yeah.
Just like the Daily Show.
Hey, actually, the Daily Show is back to being relevant now. I mean,
Wow.
Yeah. Finally, yeah.
yeah,
Got Stewart back.
Stewart back, which he pokes holes on both sides.
Yeah, he's a.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I
Yep.
will too because that's unusual.
Yep. All right, folks. On that note, remember tomorrow, this channel, 8 p.m., Gamers Health, my wife and I, we will, Rach will be demonstrating how to use Narcan. So she actually is trained in training people. So you might get something that's actually useful from us.
yeah.
I mean, God forbid. God forbid useful stuff from Tenkar's Tavern. Don't get.
Oh, and me, Thekos Heber, and Radio Gagnon. There, I got those.
Glenn, when's
What
the
about
next
you, Mike?
Hammer coming out?
I got
Thekos
nothing.
Heber, hopefully
I got
next month.
Talking
All
Crit next Wednesday. We'll do a pre Total Con show.
Quick,
Ooh,
plug the. Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, plug that. Plug your con. Plug anything you can. Bad Mike auctions. Come there and see Mike's boxes and boxes of good stuff.
As opposed to
stuff.
Mike's boxers. You
Absolutely.
don't want to see that.
Oh, I don't want to see his boxers. No,
I'm just
even if
just
they have
clarifying.
even if they have little dragons on them, I don't want to see his boxers.
Oh, that I wouldn't mind seeing little dragons on his. I mean, well, actually, no, what that doesn't sound right. I don't want to see a little dragon, Mike, and I really don't. I don't want to see.
No, we don't.
All right.
Yeah. It's got a breath weapon you would never forget.
Oh, hey! That's
Oh.
Enough. We're out. That's out.
Yeah.
That's
Be
that's
safe.
done.
Good night, folks.
Hey, do well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. Back again tomorrow. 8
What he
p.m.
said.
So, you know, see
And
Glenn.
what he said.
Go watch
Bye.
Glenn. You know, yeah.
Bye bye.
Later.
Oh, I got something to tell you guys when we're off. We have to be